He won the Kentucky Derby going away. Then he held on in the mud to win the Preakness. And now, Justify has a chance to join one of the most exclusive clubs in sports, if he can win the 150th running of the Belmont Stakes. Will Justify capture the Triple Crown, or will he be dethroned? Find out right now on Inside the Belmont, The View from Vegas, presented by VSiN and TVG. There is nothing as exciting as a Belmont when a Triple Crown is at stake. Welcome, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger. Pleased to be joined by Vinny Maiulo on my left. Mr. John Avello from the Win over here on the right, all decked out in a necktie, looks sporty. And, of course, over here, Patrick McGuigan from the South Point Racebook. Guys, at the Belmonts, you must have so many memories. Patrick, let's start with you.
I'll tell you what, Brett. In the year 2008, Big Brown was the odds-on favorite, and a friend of mine says, I think we can beat him. He's using Ditara. Ditara wins and pays $79 on the front end. But it didn't stop there. He hit the trifecta and a $10 superfecta. There was a dead heat for third and fourth. He had the superfecta 20 times. Got back over $400,000.
Whoa.
His total cash in 2008 on one race was over $581,000.
That's better than hitting a lottery, Johnny.
That's a nice score. We get so wrapped up in the business that we're in, racing sports, and so my wife said to me about a week and a half ago, June 9th, what's going on that day? And I said, are you kidding? June 9th? It's a Belmont Stakes. That's June 9th, my wife's birthday. So she jumped all over me on what's important and what's not. But for me, the Belmont Stakes is one call. And every time I think of Belmont Stakes, that call, I always refer back to that call. And that's that Tom Durkin call with Smarty Jones. I'll never forget that call. He had everything in that call, 126,000 people. It's been 26 years. That call always brings me back to the Belmont Stakes. And, through all my exposures on the Triple Crown I've had through the years.
So are you inviting your birthday gal to watch the Belmont with you? Or?
I am not. I'll be working, and we'll go out afterwards. But next time I'll say Linda's birthday and not Belmont Stakes.
Vinny?
Well, Brett, many memories of the Belmont. Obviously, I grew up in the New York metropolitan area, but a Las Vegas tie-in, for a long time, we started offering will a horse win the Triple Crown or not back in the early 90s. And it was always, the no was always the favorite at about 11 or 12 to 1. And, of course, the house had a great advantage and won every one of them up until American Pharoah a few years ago. I thought I was going to be smart in 1995 with another Bob Baffert horse, and they were real quiet. I put $20 on him in the Derby, and I said, I'm going to let this ride. Of course, he won the Derby with Kent DeSormo up. $188, rolled that over into the Preakness, took a $564 and said, no, I'm going to stick to my guns. Put it on him on the nose again in the Belmont, and we all know what happened there. Got beat by a nose. Cost me $1,015, but I haven't forgiven him. But I think we'll make it up here.
Let's take a look at our 10-horse field. Justify, down on the inside, will break from the number one post with Mike Smith, who, of course, has never won. And then you can see the rest of that field right there. Patrick, let me stop with that number one post right there. The number one has not provided a winner since 2003, Empire Maker. Is this going to be a problem for Mike and Justify?
I don't believe it is, because Mike will get Justified out of the gate, and it is the winningest post in the Belmont Stakes race. They've won 23 races from post position one. I think Mike Smith, he'll get the horse out of the gates, and then he can do what he wants. If he wants to stay on the rail or if he wants to move out, he could do that.
Johnny, how about you?
He's never had a post position where he's had horses on the outside of him. All of his starts have been somewhere between the three and, going farther out, and he's able to break. And if anybody wants to come up to challenge, they've come in from the inside. So to me, this is a new dimension for him, seeing a horse on his outside.
Brent, I don't think it's as detrimental in this race as, say, the Derby or the Preakness, because you get to that first turn quicker here, the way this track is laid out. And again, you know that we've seen him go out in both races there to get a good trip. So I don't see it being as detrimental here as it would have been at Churchill Downs.
Well, a couple of things could go wrong. Number one, obviously, he doesn't break well for Mike Smith. Now, that should not be a problem, because if you go back to both the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness on the slop, he came out perfectly and was able to establish a lead as he came out of the second turn into that backstretch. And basically, guys, he was setting the pace in both of those races. But I'm wondering, can he afford to do this at 1.5 miles? Can he afford to get on the lead for that long? What's your feeling about that, Patrick?
I believe he doesn't need the lead to win. That's the great thing about Justified and his athletic ability. I think he could sit if some rabbits go. And I think that's why Bob Baffert has his other horse in there. In case somebody goes, the other horse is going to go press.
I really don't know who else is going to go with him. There might be one horse goes, maybe Gronkowski goes. But it's not the 1.5 mile distance that's a problem for this race, because the first 3/4 of a mile is basically a canter. It's just the last 3/4 of the race. After 7 weeks, of three races in 7 weeks, do you still have the stamina left?
Brent, I think I don't think he's going to change his strategy, right? Because closers don't do as well in this race as they do in the Derby or the Preakness. You've got horses that either get out or that rate in the race that do pretty well. So I don't think that Bob Baffert and Mike Smith are going to change that strategy here.
All right, guys, but take a look at how really inexperienced Justify is. I know he's brilliant. I know he's been great, but only 5 starts, and the 3 of them, the most important, run together with the Kentucky Derby 2 weeks later, the Preakness 3 weeks off. Now he's got to come back. Patrick, how about the fact that, we talked about the Kentucky Derby. We buried the curse of Apollo, that no horse who had not raced at the age of 2 finally broke through for the first time. And now, if you look back in Belmont history, there haven't been many winners who did not campaign as a 2-year-old.
That's true, Brent, but here's the thing. This horse was not tested in his first 2 races of his career. He was tested for the first half mile in the Kentucky Derby. The only race he was tested in was the Preakness Stakes, and boy, was he tested. From gate to wire, he put away the test, and then he held off the closers. He was tested. I think he's stronger today than he was going into the Preakness, and I don't believe his figures are dropping off.
He was tested in the Preakness, certainly was. Good Magic went out and said, let's go head-to-head and see who the best horse is, and he prevailed, but they were coming quickly at 1 mile 3/16, and this is a little longer race.
Brent, untested as a 2-year-old, unraced as a 2-year-old, great point. However, I think he's proven to be the most versatile horse in this field. The Santa Anita Derby was on a good track, on a fast track, and then we saw what happened in both obviously the Preakness, and before that the Derby on an off track. The best horse, it's the horse to beat. So I think he's proven himself and really overcome the unraced 2-year-old dilemma.
Now, let's take a look at the dazzling dozen, we call them. These are the horses who have captured the Triple Crown. Now, look at the time between Affirmed and American Pharaoh. And now, 3 years after Pharaoh captured the Triple Crown for Bob Baffert, they come back again. History is working against Justify if you simply consider the numbers. But hold on. Seattle Slew and Affirmed won it in back-to-back years after the great Secretariat. Now, when you look at the trainers, there are 2 legendary trainers who won it twice, okay? Ben Jones and Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons. And there was one rider who struck for the Triple Crown twice, the Hall of Famer Eddie Acaro, born aboard Whirlaway in 1941, and he came back on Citation in 1948. And, of course, Citation was the last winner prior to Secretariat, Vinny.
Brent, I'm looking at those dates there. 1973, my car broke down as I was on my way to Belmont Park. 1977, I had to work. 1978, affirmed. I graduated from junior college on the same day.
When I look at those horses, that American Pharoah sticks out at me because he ran just a fast race that day. His time was 2:24. Firm ran 2:26, and everybody else is 2:26 or above leading up to that. It takes a special horse to get there.
Now take a look at the near misses. Horses who have won the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness, but failed in a Belmont. A much longer list than those who have won it. And coming up, Bob Baffert's near misses, okay, before he finally struck for gold and won the Triple Crown with American Pharoah. This is Inside the Belmont, the view from Vegas, presented by VSiN and TVG. You can bet the Belmont at TVG.com. You can listen to VSiN on Sirius XM Channel 204 and follow us online at VSiN.com and on Twitter at VSiN Live.
Vegas, baby, the sports gambling capital of the world and the home of VSiN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network. VSiN is the first network dedicated to coverage of sports betting, a multi-billion-dollar business. We broadcast live 7 days a week from a fishbowl studio located in the middle of the sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino on Las Vegas Boulevard in the heart of Sin City. Our all-star lineup includes Hall of Fame broadcaster Brent Musburger, legendary oddsmaker Jimmy Vaccaro, and the rest of the guys in the desert. The view from Las Vegas can provide insights no other network can offer to the rest of the sports world. VSiN doesn't just give the latest odds. Our experts take you behind the sportsbook to explain how those odds are set and why they change. Listen to us on Sirius XM Channel 204. Check us out at VSiN.com or on the VSiN app. This is VSiN, changing the way you watch sports.
Welcome back to Inside the Belmont, the view from Vegas, and a look at the final leg of horse racing's Triple Crown, presented by VSiN and TVG.
Three different races at three different distances at three different tracks, all within 5 weeks. It's a daunting task, one that has only been accomplished 12 times. But when Bob Baffert's American Pharoah ended the 37-year drought, he did more than just win a race. He eliminated the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that there's someone who's worthy of racing's most elusive prize. However, with the absence of these emotions, does that guarantee that we'll see a second Triple Crown winner in the last 4 years? There's been plenty of heartbreak.
Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. California Throne laboring late.
And for Bob Baffert, it's happened 3 times.
50 yards to go. Touch gold wins it.
And war of them has given way. No Triple Crown for the 24th year.
None more nerve-wracking and devastating than a 1.5-mile race being decided by a matter of inches.
Kent DeSomo imploring real quiet to hold on. Victory Gallop, a final surge. It's going to be very close. It's too close to call.
Capturing the Triple Crown wasn't meant to be easy. It's designed to push our equine athletes to the max. As Bob Baffert tries to win his second Triple Crown, one thing to remember is not everyone is meant to pass the true test of a champion.
Well, we have 4 horses that Baffert had a shot to win the Triple Crown, but it took until 2015 when he could strike gold. All right, guys, let's go through the rest of the horses. Vinny, let's take you to Free Drop Billy. He'll break from the number 2 stall.
You know, Brent, with any race, you want to start not by looking at the horses that you think can win the race, but start eliminating horses as well. And we've got a 10-horse field here. Free Drop Billy did nothing in the Derby. He finished 16th. Hasn't won a race since a Grade 1 Breeders' Future maturity at Keeneland last October. I have to tell you, and he was fourth in the Bluegrass. Nothing special here for me, so this is one of my first horses to eliminate.
And, Johnny, how about Bravazzo, the number 3 horse on Saturday?
Well, he's one of 2 horses to participate in all 3 Triple Crown races, and his last race was certainly his best. You know, I see Lucas out there really talking his horse up. He's been talking a little bit of smack lately on his horse. It's like, let the horse that has the best stamina go forward and win this. So he really feels he can win it. I'm probably going to use him somewhere.
Okay. Patrick, there's a lot of chatter in New York about Hofburg, trained by Bill Mott. He's been working at Saratoga. Some of the wise guys are jumping on Hofburg.
They are, Brent, and I've studied the replay of the Kentucky Derby. I didn't see a lot of trouble with Hofburg. He does come out of a good race in the Florida Derby, but you can't bet A, B, and I believe A is going to be first or second, and so I have to eliminate him in the second hole. He's got to be relegated down to third or fourth.
Be careful now. There's some Tappet blood in there. That's been pretty good in the Belmont. Now, don't throw him out too quickly now, Patrick. You hear what I'm saying?
All right.
Vinny, let's go to the 5 horse. Restoring Hope. This is the other horse Johnny mentioned in our first segment, trained by Bob Baffert.
Yeah, Brent, and with the entry that, and it's not even a coupled entry, but the fact of the matter is this. He ran on the Kentucky Derby undercard. He finished 12th in a race that day at Churchill Downs. By the way, with Mike Smith in the irons that day. Obviously, he doesn't have Mike Smith here. This is another throwaway for me, frankly.
All right. So, Johnny, Gronkowski, and not being ridden by Bill Belichick, I should say, but the number 6 horse, named after the great tight end of the New England Patriots.
He's not, but he's being ridden by a pretty good jockey in Jose Ortiz. Chad Brown picks him up to train him now, and you certainly have to respect the Chad Brown. But when you look at the horses, the races he's running, his 7 races or so, 6 races, it's all on a synthetic or turf. So I really don't know what to make of a horse, except that I think that he may take a shot and go out with Justified.
Okay. And Patrick, I know you love these European horses.
I'm going to pass on this one, Brent. I'm passing.
Okay. Now, well, let's compare the two. He was named after the great tight end. Okay. The Gronk himself was born in Amherst, and, the horse was bred in Kentucky, sold 3 times at auction. Hey, the Gronk went in the second round. Gronkowski, the horse, has only won 1 stakes. Take a look at the earnings per game and the earnings per start. $500,000 for the Gronk, the tight end, okay? And the favorite meal, of course, the Gronk loves his mom's chicken souffle. Hay, oats, and water will do it for Gronkowski, the horse. Okay. Patrick, let's go to Tenfold. This was a horse charging down the stretch at the Preakness at Justified.
Here's the other Justified horse. This horse didn't race his first race till February 9th. He has 9 days on Justified, and he has an internal power rating in that Preakness Stakes. His mile figure, to me, is the second fastest in this race. He's my second horse in this race and one of the potential upsetters of Justified.
And Vinny, you got to love the Curlin blood with Tenfold. You know that?
Brent, the only thing that worries me about Tenfold is, to your point about the breeding, terrific. He tends to run wide, and at 1.5 miles, you don't need any more distance. That would be the one concern that I would have for Tenfold.
Okay. Now let's go to a horse I know you love. Vino Rosso, the number 8.
VSiN Vinny loves Vino Rosso, and I don't think that's a surprise to anybody, Brent. Ran 9th in the Derby, took the Preakness off, won the Wood Memorial for Todd Pletcher on April 7th. Very dangerous horse here. When you look at his form, I do like the fact that he comes into this race off of the Derby about a month and a half ago, but yet rested for this one. This is a very dangerous horse. I'm going to use him in the top spot of my exotics.
John, down at the Wynn, this is one of the Todd Pletcher horses. Have you taken a lot of action on the 2 Pletcher horses? Are people backing the connections here with the Vino Rosso and, of course, Noble Indy?
Vino Rosso has taken some money. We opened him at 12-1, and he was down to 8. But Noble Indy, no.
Okay.
I guess when they look at Noble Indy, they look at the connections of this horse and they say, well, do we? And there's partial connections, the WinStar portion. Do we really want to go out and beat a horse for the Triple Crown, or do we want to sit and maybe see what happens and maybe take a shot at winning if our number one horse falters? But you got to remember, you got Rapoli, certainly a different owner there and a different trainer there. They'd love to upset Justify.
Well, Vino Rosso, ridden by the great
Velasquez.
Yes.
Jorge Velasquez. Yeah, Junior
Yes.
Velasquez, yeah.
And I think, don't you think, guys, at the Belmont, Velasquez and Pletcher, I find myself, even though I love red wine, I find myself leaning to this horse.
I'm definitely going to use him on top, Brent, with Justified. I think it's a 3-horse race, and one is better than the other two.
Okay. Let's go. Patrick, take us through Noble Indy. I get John's concern about WinStar Farm being a part owner of Justify also. But Noble Indy could be a horse that might like getting on the lead, might like to go out in front, right?
Well, he might be one of the horses that goes out and presses. And if he jumps out there and tries to go to the lead, and I think Rapolo said he's going to the lead. If that's the case, maybe Restoring Hope goes out and presses, and then you have Justified sitting the trip.
Okay. Now, the final horse, number 10 horse, Vinny, Blended Citizen.
Well, Brent, trained by Doug O'Neill, he won the Peter Pan. He's actually the only horse in this field that has a trip over this track. And when he won the Peter Pan on the 12th. Here's the thing. This is the first time, though. That was at 1 1/8. You got 2 turns here. He's going to draw some attention coming in from the outside. I think he's going to be attractive to some folks. But for me, I'm going to have to probably pass on him, given that this is a much more of a quality field than his last race. And
John, how about you? Are you passing also on Blended Citizen?
His numbers look a little slow, and he's got Kyle Frey on first grade 1 attempt, so I could see him possibly in the mix, but I don't see him as a win candidate.
He's a filler in the 3rd and 4th hole, which I will use because he does have the good race over the track.
All right, so now, before we take our next break, take a look at Belmont by the numbers. And Justify, you might want to look away, okay? Only one of the last 12 favorites have won the Belmont. That's American Pharoah, obviously. Only 6 of the last 32 favorites have won the Belmont. Those are stunning numbers to be working against with a horse that has raced only 5 times. But my guys here, my board of experts, they're going to tell you how to make some money on this race. We're back when we continue here on TVG. This is Inside the Belmont, the view from Vegas, presented by VSiN and TVG. You can bet the Belmont at TVG.com. You can listen to VSiN on Sirius XM Channel 204 and follow us online at VSiN.com and on Twitter at VSiN Live.
Vegas, baby, the sports gambling capital of the world and the home of VSiN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network. VSiN is the first network dedicated to coverage of sports betting, a multi-billion-dollar business. We broadcast live 7 days a week from a fishbowl studio located in the middle of the sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino on Las Vegas Boulevard in the heart of Sin City. Our all-star lineup includes Hall of Fame broadcaster Brent Musburger, legendary oddsmaker Jimmy Vaccaro, and the rest of the guys in the desert. The view from Las Vegas can provide insights no other network can offer to the rest of the sports world. VSiN doesn't just give the latest odds. Our experts take you behind the sportsbook to explain how those odds are set and why they change. Listen to us on Sirius XM Channel 204. Check us out at VSiN.com or on the VSiN app. This is VSiN, changing the way you watch sports.
Welcome back to Inside the Belmont, the view from Vegas, and a look at the final leg of horse racing's Triple Crown, presented by VSiN and TVG. Want to remind everybody that Inside the Belmont, the publication presented by VSiN and TVG, is out $19.99. So go to VSiN.com. You'll find everything you want to know. Plus, we've got in-depth on every one of the 10 horses entered. All right, guys, it's money time. 4 to 5, the morning line. I want to remind everybody that American Pharoah went off at 3 to 5, okay? You're not going to make any money betting to win or place if Justify wins, because a lot of people, they buy tickets for souvenirs. They want to back the horse. They're pulling for the horse. So, Patrick, you lead us off. How does somebody make money betting the Belmont?
The way I'm going to make money in this play, Brent, I'm playing the exacta. I'm playing Justified over Tenfold and Vino Rosso. So that's 1 over the 7-8. I will reverse it. I will put 7-8 on top over the 1 for about half as much. I won't do it equally, but I'll do it about half as much to make the equal amount, and I think you can make a hit there.
Okay, now you're taking the exacta and not the try, correct?
Not the try, because I'm fearful of the second choice, Hofberg. If he's on the board, the try gets really knocked down to where you're not going to make a lot of money.
Okay, John, how about you?
Well, I'm going to play a horse to win place, and I'm putting that horse on top with another and playing some tries. That horse is Tenfold. Here's my reasoning. Justify is at a Scat Daddy Johannesburg. Not that the Belmont will keep you from going the mile and a half. You could do it because the pace is slow, as we spoke about, halfway through the show. But I believe that the horses that win this race are always horses that are bred for distance. We mentioned Tappet before. We had Taprit. He's at a Tappet. We mentioned Creator the year before. He's at a Tappet. Pioneer of the Nile was American Pharoah's sire, could go long. Tonalist was at a Tappet, and Palace Malice was at a Curl, and this is the last 5 years. So Tenfold is not only at a Curl and on the top end, but on the bottom end, he's at a Tappet. That's my horse. I'm going with Tenfold. I think he's going to be a decent price. I'm going to put some other horses underneath, including Justify, try to hit the try.
A little bit of a combination of both. I mean, obviously, we want. I'm rooting for Justify. We want. Love to have a triple crown. We need stars in the sport. So for me, I'm going to go with a try. I'm going to use Vino Rosso, Hofberg, and Justify in the first slot and the second slot. I'm going to eliminate 3 horses. Number 2, Free Drop Billy. Number 5, Restoring Hope, and Blended Citizen. Actually, also Gronkowski. I'm glad Gronkowski's in the race because I want him to draw money and draw attention, and I'm gonna throw him out. So for me, in the third spot, I'm going to use 6 horses: Justify, Bravasso, Hofberg, Tenfold, Vino Rosso, who's my pick to win the race and pull the upset, and Noble Indy.
Before we sign it off, John Avello had the most interesting prop in town down at the Wynn. You could bet the Vegas Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup and Justify to win the Triple Crown. Did you get a lot of action on it, Johnny? Were people interested in that prop at the time?
Just a ton. We've been all over the board with it, too, because the Knights won game 1. That took it. It's opened up minus 320 plus 260 on the yes. We dropped it down to minus $2 on the no after the Knights won the first game. And then, of course, we know what's going on with the Knights. They're losing, and the prop price keeps going up on the no. So right now you saw the price minus 11 on the no, plus 750 on the yes.
Well, there you have it. The view from Vegas. Good luck. So long, everybody.